What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. My name is Ben, your host, and I am the CEO of Ironclad Restoration Marketing, where I help restoration business owners get more leads and sales just by getting their internet marketing right. Now, today, this episode is going to be a little shorter than most, but it is just as important, if not more important than any other episode, because we're going to be talking coin. That's right, money and return on investment. And one of the biggest problems that we're seeing now, and we've seen in the past with restoration contractors when it comes to their digital marketing efforts and understanding what the actual ROI of each different channel is bringing them in. Now, one thing that I want to back up on is this isn't just going to touch on digital marketing. This is actually going to help you a little bit with your internal operations of your business as well. And that's specifically today, we're going to talk about how important it is to implement call tracking in your restoration company. Now, we deal with contractors all across the US and they all have the same issue, right? When you're busy, you don't hear anything. When it starts to slow down, marketing gets chopped off and they're looking for ways to save money and figure it out. Well, how do you really make those informed decisions if you have no idea where the leads are coming from? Now, sure, if you're buying leads from 33 Mile or any of the other lead gen services out there that are working for you nowadays, of course, you're going to know where those leads are coming from. But what about all the other leads in between? So if you're spending money on search engine optimization, you've got a vendor doing pay-per-click for you, you got somebody managing your social media, you got another person doing your Google business profile, whether you're paying somebody outsourcing this work or you're doing it in-house or you're doing it yourself, you bought my book and you're going at it. I love it. But you need to understand which one of these channels is actually working and not working when the times get tough and things get slow. And even more so when you are making money, because that's when you have the resources to be able to dump more money into one channel over another. And what we like to do, and we implement this with every single one of our clients that are willing to, you can't force them as much as I'd like to, is we just set up call tracking for them. Now, if you're not familiar with it, all call tracking is, and there's a ton of different services out there that provide this for you. We like to use CallRail. It works really nicely with WordPress sites. There's a plugin that goes into it. And what call tracking does is you're able to buy a phone number, and that phone number becomes your forward-facing phone number on all of the digital channels that you choose. Okay. So we'll keep it simple for now. Let's just pretend you buy one phone number. That phone number is just going to forward over to your office. So every single time somebody goes on your website, that phone number is on your website. It's on your Google business profile. It's on your pay-per-click ads if you want to do that. It's on your social media profile. So every single time somebody calls that phone number, it rings to your office, it's going to record that call for you. And anytime you want, you're able to export that list of phone calls that came in and listen to them. So every month, without a doubt, you can listen to every single phone call that came in just from online areas and understand how many leads came into your business. Isn't that fantastic? So this really works in a lot of different ways, right? So we'll just focus again on digital marketing. So let's say you have a vendor doing pay-per-click. My suggestion, get a number for just the pay-per-click. You have a separate vendor doing SEO. You have one number for, that number should be on your website, your Google business profile, and maybe your social media. And then every month you're going to get two different lists of phone calls that come in. And outside of, asking people where to go, like your pay-per-click number, you're able to quantify how many calls came in, and your SEO work, you're able to quantify how many calls come in. And if your SEO work is doing jack for you, then, all right, now we need to have a conversation to see what the hell is going on. The other part about this is being able to listen to these phone calls. You're able to get a handle on your internal operations. I cannot tell you how many times we've listened to phone calls coming into our clients, and you've got the grouchiest, meanest person answering the phone, and they're not converting those calls, right? So you may be getting all the calls in, but then you've got some sort of bottleneck inside your office that's making these people jump ship and go the other way. So it really helps you on a couple different areas, right? So one, it lets you track your return on your investment, which I think is the most important thing, because it's all about dollars and cents, especially when you're spending money on digital marketing on an agency or an in-house person. You want to know that they're actually doing their job. Because what happens in the internet world and marketing world, when somebody goes online and finds you, they're not going to be specific. Like, well, we Google search water damage and we found you, and we found the organics. Or no, they're just, hey, we found you on Google, or we found you online is the big one that you find. So the call tracking really is able to helps you back up those jobs that are coming in. And if you're tracking things properly, you're going to be able to improve them. So we'll backtrack a little bit to people that are super busy. Okay. You've got pay-per-click rolling, you got somebody managing Google Business, you got a social media guy, you got an SEO guy, you got all the guys, you know those guys. I got a guy, and you're busy as hell. But then you get slow. What are you going to do? The first thing you're doing is taking that axe and you're chopping every one of those guys right out the door. But a lot of times, and I'll say more often than not, you are making a big mistake. Sometimes your SEO guy is not performing, right? Sometimes your pay-per-click isn't working. Sometimes it's just not going to work. But you're never really going to know that unless you're tracking it. Call tracking is the key. Okay. Yeah, you should be looking at Google Analytics. That's great. Looking at how many keywords are on page one and your visibility and how much organic traffic you have coming in, how much traffic's coming in from your pay-per-click. All that's wonderful. But we all know, let's just cut the BS. At the end of the day, all that matters is the dollars and cents, and that is phone calls coming into your business. Now, being a digital marketing agency owner, I've seen a lot of weird things happen. And this is why call tracking became such a crucial part of what we do as part of our plan. So we have client A. Client A gets about, we'll just say 500 organic sessions to their website every single month, bounces between 300 or 500, which if you've been paying attention to analytics, that's a lot. But they don't really get a lot of phone calls, or at least when we jump on our calls, our monthly reviews, and this is years ago. So this is before we really started like making call tracking, like you got to do it. They're not getting a lot of calls at all. Like really to be relative to the amount of traffic they're getting to their site. There's a lot of people going to the site. They have 2,000 something keywords on page one, but the volume of phone calls just isn't there. Now you have client B that gets 50 or 60 organic calls to their, 50 or 60 organic sessions to their website every month, but they get like 40 or 50 leads out of that. Now, some of it could be a conversion issue, right? So we look at the websites, we hold them hand to hand, the websites, and so we don't see any difference between the two sites that would leave somebody to not call. They're in relatively similar categories and territories. So, and we never really figured it out. Eventually it kind of turned itself on and everything started working a little bit more relative for the guy that was getting a lot of traffic, but he was in a different territory and, certain things changed and he may have had a few bad reviews, but where call tracking comes into that, is you're able to track how many phone calls in real time. So what we ended up finding out is that the client that was getting 400 or 500 to 300 organic sessions to their site every month, they were telling us that they're not getting any phone calls. Well, they were not being as honest as we probably would have liked. In fact, they were actually getting a lot of phone calls. They just weren't asking where their calls were coming from. So they just assumed that they were just getting calls and it was just happening and we weren't doing jack for them. So that's what led us down the path to implementing the call tracking a little bit more because you can't hide, right? So from an agency's perspective, I love it because I'm able to show you, hey, here's 50 calls that you got in. How'd you convert? Did you get any of these jobs? Let's listen to them. I kind of noticed that your secretary is being a little rude, right? Or they're not picking up the phone during business hours or something like that. So it really helps with your internal operations. Outside of being able to track where the money's coming from, you're able to lay the hammer down on your people. Maybe your people that you have in place are not the right people and they're answering the phone as being rude and nobody's going to listen to that crap. They already have catastrophic property damage. They don't need somebody. They're already scared to call you in the first place. I mean, it is big, putting yourself in your client's shoes. There's a lot of stuff that you have to overcome as a restoration company just to get them to call. And then if you're rude to them or you don't answer the phone, like you're never going to get that person to call you back. Right. So you're going to lose that right off the bat. Now, most of you guys know that already. So call tracking allows you to kind of fix those internal operations. Now, from an agency perspective, again, like I said, I love it because you can't lie to me, right? It just, maybe your partner doesn't like SEO. You've been burned a bunch of times. So you've got people in your ear saying, this is stupid. You don't need to spend the money on that and blah, 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 blah. Or Alternatively, you might be super busy and you're like, yeah, well, let's just cut off this marketing stuff. I'm going to spend this extra couple thousand a month or 1,000 a month. We don't need that. Like, we're getting a ton of calls. So the call tracking really holds the agency accountable and it holds the business owner accountable, which I love. Now, outside of the dollars and cents, which again, that's all that matters. We as an agency, we don't have those clients that we're like, oh my God, you're having so much traffic and you're telling me there's no calls. Well, it's BS. Like, we know how many calls you got. So who to use for call tracking? We like CallRail. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but CallRail is what we like to use. We bounce around with a few different ones. CallRail integrates into WordPress websites. They've got a plugin. It's very intuitive. I really like CallRail a lot. So you can look into it. It's so cheap to buy a phone number. It doesn't make any sense. So there's no reason not to do it. Now, the other part of this is, so let's say you have, you should have a Google business profile. If you listen to me on our YouTube, Instagram for Ironclad Restoration Marketing, I've made so many videos about why you need to have a Google business profile and be managing it and have it optimized. And in January of this year, it became even more prevalent to use because you get to rank in the map section and it ties in your organic traffic a little bit. So it boosts your SEO. Google business profile now actually offers call tracking. All you need to do is log in to your Google business profile page and check the box that says allow Google to track the calls. They also have messaging capabilities, which is great because we see a lot of people messaging our clients via Google Business, which is awesome. So look, I'm all about it. Have as many ways of communicating and converting those leads as possible. So Google Business's call tracking is great and it's free. So from an agency, again, let's put yourself in my shoes. As an agency standpoint, if we are providing that as a service, Google Business, and you have somebody else doing SEO for you, and you're getting a ton of calls in, and you're not tracking your calls, and times get tight, you may be shutting off Google Business, the Google Business service that we're providing, or you may cut off your SEO guy. When in reality, one of us might be doing a really great job. The other one might be lagging behind. And without understanding the data and knowing where those calls are coming from, you're not making informed marketing decision. And that's what it's about. If it's about, we're about making money, we're about getting these leads, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. Let's really make sure that when you're going to make a decision, it's unanimous and there's a real reason for it, right? So, your Google business, we were able to provide our clients with a list of the phone calls that came in from their Google business profile. We're able to provide our clients with a list of calls that came in from the SEO and pay-per-click work we're doing. And there's no hiding from it. We have tangible evidence that the work that we're doing or the work that you're doing is working or it's not working. So long story short, you have to implement call tracking into your business. Look into it. You could reach out to us. Be happy. Just check out, it's CallRail. Just Google CallRail. It's such a great tool and it's endless to what you can do with it. You can buy multiple phone numbers if you have multiple vendors doing different things. Even with print marketing, if you're doing print marketing, you can put a tracking number on that print marketing. And guess what? You sent out 5,000 postcards and now you can track the phone calls because the only way that person got that phone number is off that postcard. Now you're able to track all those phone calls that came off the postcard. So call tracking is a must-have. So if you don't have it, at the minimum right now, you can do it on your phone, log into your Google business profile and just click yes, turn it on. And if you're doing the work and you're following along and you're properly optimizing your Google business page, then you will get calls from your Google business. And guess what? Now you can actually see those calls, have a transcription of the calls sometimes, and actually see where your dollars are being spent and track your ROI, because what gets tracked and measured gets better. So instead of being in a situation where when you get slow, you fire everybody, you get slow, you start looking at analytics, you start looking at the calls coming in and you see, well, this guy's not doing it. This is really not hanging on. We got to move on to somebody else because we're not getting the return on our investment that we should be getting. Your expectations were not met or managed properly. We know SEO takes some time to kick in. So I'm not saying if you just hired somebody yesterday, and you're not getting the calls coming in off call tracking, like don't go fire them now because it does take a lot of time to get SEO ramped up. But a quick win, get on that Google business profile, start optimizing that. Have your agency do it. Use the posting capabilities. Make sure you check that you're able to receive messages and make sure that you have the call tracking turned on. You will be able to start tracking your ROI. You will be able to start making informed marketing decisions instead of knee-jerk reactions and the shiny new object syndrome. You're going to put yourself in a better position for your operations and be able to understand how your employees are answering the phone, how fast they're following up with leads, if they're even answering the phones during business hours. All of that is going to be right on a dashboard that you're able to see in real time to make sure that you're maximizing your digital marketing efforts and you're getting the best bang for your buck on the hard-earned money that you're spending, and more so the time that you're spending to grow your business. If you have any questions at all about call tracking, if I didn't convince you enough, I am not getting paid by CallRail. I don't get paid by call tracking people. I'm just telling you right now, if you're not doing it, you are effing up. Implement call tracking into your business. Hold your agency accountable, hold your team accountable, and hold yourself accountable. It's probably going to be a game changer for you if you're not doing it. You are really able to make sense of the analytics coming in. So really check it out. Make sure on the right now, go do on your Google business, start looking into CallRail and have your web developer set up the plugin on your website, get that number up there, start changing things around, and you should see a lot bigger of an improvement all across the board for your restoration business. That's it for today. I told you it's gonna be a little bit of a quick one. I hope you got value out of it. Leave us a review, like us. You can stream this podcast, the Restoration Rundown, on any one of the streaming services. I don't know how the heck they let me in, but they let me in on all of them. So there is no escape. And if you want to learn how to grow your restoration business the right way, then tune in every week to the Restoration Rundown. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon.